Every year, approximately 600,000 people go missing in the United States alone. But what if I told you that throughout history, entire civilizations, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people, have simply vanished without a trace? No bodies, no records, no explanation. They lived, they thrived, and then nothing. Today, we're diving into the most haunting disappearances in human history, where entire peoples became nothing more than whispers in the wind. Welcome. Back to the channel, Mystery Seekers. I'm your host, and today we're exploring one of the most chilling aspects of our shared human story, the complete disappearance of entire civilizations and peoples. These aren't just individual missing person cases that keep us up at night. These are mass vanishing events that have left archaeologists, historians, and researchers scratching their heads for decades, sometimes centuries. From ancient civilizations that built magnificent cities only to abandon them overnight, to indigenous peoples who seem to dissolve into thin air, these mysteries challenge everything we think we know about human persistence and survival. Some of these cases have been cold for over 1,000 years, yet they continue to haunt us with their unanswered questions. What drives an entire people to simply disappear? And more importantly, what can these vanishings tell us about the fragility of civilization itself? The challenge of understanding vanished peoples goes far beyond simple historical curiosity. When we talk about individual disappearances, we have frameworks: kidnapping, murder, voluntary disappearance, accidents. But when entire civilizations vanish, our usual explanations crumble. Think about it. For a people to completely disappear, we're talking about a phenomenon that affects every member of a society simultaneously. Men, women, children, elders, everyone. The logistics alone are staggering. Where do tens of thousands of people go? How do they coordinate such a massive exodus? And why would they leave behind everything they've built? The archaeological record presents us with an even stranger puzzle. In many cases, these vanished peoples left behind cities that show no signs of warfare, no evidence of natural disaster, no indication of gradual decline. Tools are left mid-use, meals abandoned half-eaten, children's toys scattered in courtyards where laughter once echoed. It's as if these entire populations simply decided to walk away from their lives in a single moment. What makes these cases even more perplexing is the complete absence of migration trails. Modern peoples leave traces when they move. Artifacts, along routes, genetic markers in new populations, linguistic influences, cultural practices that blend with existing societies. But vanished peoples often leave no such breadcrumbs. They don't seem to have integrated elsewhere. They just ended. This presents us with several uncomfortable possibilities. Did these peoples face catastrophes so complete that no trace of their exodus survived? Did they possess knowledge or technology that allowed them to disappear more thoroughly than we believe possible? Or are we missing something fundamental about how societies can collapse and scatter? The stakes of understanding. These disappearances extend beyond historical fascination. In our interconnected modern world, the idea that entire civilizations can simply cease to exist forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our own society's permanence and the warning signs we might be missing. Let's examine some of the most compelling cases that have baffled researchers for generations. The Anasazi, America's great vanishing in the American Southwest, the ancestral Puebloans, often called the Anasazi, built some of the most spectacular cliff dwellings in North America. For over 700 years, They thrived in the Four Corners region, developing sophisticated agricultural systems, creating intricate pottery, and constructing architectural marvels that still take our breath away today. Then, around 1300 CE, they vanished. Not gradually, suddenly. Archaeological evidence suggests that within a single generation, possibly within just a few years, tens of thousands of people abandoned settlements they had occupied for centuries. They left behind perfectly preserved cliff dwellings, stored grain, pottery, tools, even sandals sitting by doorways as if their owners had just stepped out for a moment. What's truly unsettling is that these weren't struggling communities. The Anasazi had successfully adapted to drought cycles for generations. They had trade networks stretching across the continent. Their population was at its peak when they disappeared. Traditional theories about drought and resource depletion don't fully explain the sudden, complete abandonment. Some researchers point to evidence of violence and cannibalism in the final period, suggesting internal warfare or external invasion. But if that were the case, where are the bodies? Where are the refugees? The Anasazi seem to have vanished as completely as if they had never existed. The Khmer Empire's mysterious decline Angkor, in modern-day Cambodia, was once the largest pre-industrial city in the world. At its peak in the 12th century, the Khmer Empire controlled vast territories, and Angkor housed over 1 million people. The magnificent temple complex of Angkor Wat stands today as testament to their incredible architectural and engineering achievements. Yet by the 15th century, this massive urban center was almost completely abandoned. Unlike the Anasazi, we have some historical records of the Khmer Empire's decline, but they raise more questions than answers. The official capital moved to Phnom Penh, but this doesn't explain why such a massive population would abandon a city that had thrived for centuries. Recent research using laser technology has revealed that Angkor was even larger than previously thought, with sophisticated water management systems covering thousands of square kilometers. The infrastructure could have supported the population indefinitely. So why did they leave? Some theories suggest climate change disrupted their water systems, but the engineering was sophisticated enough to handle variations. Others point to warfare with neighboring kingdoms, but there's no evidence of the kind of devastation that would force such a complete evacuation. What's most mysterious is that the jungle reclaimed Angkor so quickly and completely that European explorers in the 19th century found temples that seem to have been abandoned for millennia, not centuries. It's as if the people didn't just leave, they erased their presence. The Roanoke Colony, the lost colony of America in 1587, 115. English colonists established a settlement on Roanoke Island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. When ships returned 3 years later, they found the settlement completely deserted. No bodies, no signs of struggle, no indication of where the colonists had gone. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a fence post. What makes Roanoke particularly haunting is that these weren't ancient peoples whose records have been lost to time. These were English colonists who maintained detailed records, who had planned communication with the homeland, who had every intention of building a permanent settlement in the New World. The theories are numerous but unsatisfying. Did they integrate with local Native American tribes? The Croatoan people, for whom the carved word might have been intended, lived on nearby Hatteras Island, but searches found no definitive evidence of English integration. Did they attempt to return to England on their own? No ship was missing, and the treacherous journey would have been nearly impossible without proper navigation. Recent archaeological work has found some tantalizing clues. English artifacts mixed with Native American settlements, possible graves that might contain European remains. But these discoveries raise as many questions as they answer. If the colonists integrated with local populations, why was their absorption so complete that it left virtually no trace? The Pueblo and Chaco culture, in New Mexico's Chaco Canyon, another. Sophisticated civilization thrived for over 300 years before vanishing around 1150 CE. The Chacoan people built massive great houses, some containing over 600 rooms, connected by an intricate road system that stretched for hundreds of miles across the desert. What makes Chaco particularly mysterious is the scale of coordination required for their society. The road system alone represents an engineering feat that required precise planning and massive labor coordination. These weren't simple dwellings. They were monumental architecture that served purposes we still don't fully understand. Then, like so many others, they simply left. The great houses were abandoned, the roads fell into disuse, and the sophisticated trade networks that had brought materials from as far away as Mexico and California collapsed overnight. Recent research has revealed that the Chacoans may have exhausted their local environment, cutting down all the large trees within a 50-mile radius for construction. But environmental degradation doesn't explain the complete abandonment. Societies typically adapt, downsize, or reorganize when faced with resource constraints. They don't usually vanish entirely. But perhaps the most compelling and recent case that illustrates just how mysterious these vanishings can be comes from Easter Island, Rapa Nui. This case is particularly fascinating because it combines historical records with cutting-edge archaeological science, and the results are challenging everything we thought we knew about societal collapse. For decades, Easter Island has been held up as the ultimate cautionary tale about environmental destruction and societal collapse. The traditional narrative tells us that the Rapa Nui people cut down all their trees, destroyed their environment, and their civilization collapsed into warfare and cannibalism before being reduced to a few hundred survivors when Europeans arrived. But
here's where it gets truly mysterious. Recent archaeological evidence is completely overturning this narrative. New research published just in the last few years has revealed that the Rapa Nui population may have been much larger than previously thought, possibly 15,000 to 17,000 people at its peak. Soil analysis shows that they developed sophisticated agricultural techniques that actually improved their environment. Contrary to popular belief, they didn't destroy their ecosystem, they adapted to it brilliantly. So what happened to them? Here's the shocking part. The population collapse didn't happen gradually due to environmental destruction. It happened suddenly in the 18th and 19th centuries, coinciding with European contact. But it wasn't just disease that decimated the population, though that played a role. Something else happened that we're only beginning to understand. In 1862, Peruvian slave raiders kidnapped approximately 1,500 Rapa Nui people, nearly half the remaining population, to work in guano mines. When international pressure forced the return of the survivors, only 15 people made it back to the island alive. But these 15 brought smallpox with them, which devastated the remaining population. But here's the truly mysterious part. According to some accounts, there were still several thousand Rapa Nui people on the island in the mid-1800s. By 1877, only 111 remained. Where did the rest go? The official records are incomplete and contradictory. Some suggest mass death from disease, but the archaeological record doesn't support mortality on such a scale. Others suggest emigration,
But where? And why would the remaining population abandon an island they had successfully inhabited for over 1,000 years? What makes this case so compelling is that we have European observers documenting the island during this period. Yet even with relatively recent historical records, the fate of thousands of people remains a complete mystery. If we can't fully explain what happened to the Rapa Nui people in the 19th century, how can we hope to understand the vanishing of peoples thousands of years ago? The Easter Island case forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality. Even in the modern era, with historical records and eyewitness accounts, entire populations can still disappear in ways that leave more questions than answers. As we've explored today, the mystery of vanished peoples challenges our fundamental assumptions about human civilization and its permanence. From the cliff dwellings of the Anasazi to the great houses of Chaco, from the temples of Angkor to the recent revelations about Easter Island, these disappearances share common threads that should give us pause. First, these weren't failing civilizations. Most were at or near their peak when they vanished. They had successfully adapted to their environments, developed sophisticated technologies, and built complex societies that had endured for centuries. Second, their disappearances were often sudden and complete. Unlike gradual decline, which leaves archaeological evidence of struggle and adaptation, these people seem to have made collective decisions to abandon everything they had built. Third, they left behind mysteries that modern science and archaeology struggle to solve. Despite our advanced techniques and technologies, we remain baffled by disappearances that occurred not just in prehistoric times, but within the last few centuries. Perhaps most unsettling of all, these cases remind us that civilization, our civilization, is more fragile than we like to believe. In our interconnected world, we assume that complete disappearance is impossible. But history suggests otherwise. The vanished peoples of our past may be trying to tell us something about the nature of human society, about warning signs we should heed, about the delicate balance between thriving and simply vanishing. Their greatest mystery might not be where they went, but what they knew that we don't. What do you think happened to these vanished peoples? Do you believe there are common factors we're missing, or is each disappearance unique? Drop your theories in the comments below. I read every single one, and some of you have blown my mind with your insights. If you found this deep dive as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Next week, we're exploring another chilling mystery. The strange case of entire ghost ships found perfectly preserved but completely abandoned. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, keep questioning, keep wondering, and remember, history is full of mysteries waiting to be solved.